Sills, National Football Show on a day where the nation saw the national football top prospects that were in the college ranks go into the National Football League last night. And I'll say this to you. It was one of the more compelling drafts I've seen in a long time. A lot of teams went against conventional wisdom. Some teams did well. Some teams, at the end of the day, did not. But I first want to start it off by giving Howie Roseman a lot of kudos for what he accomplished last night by getting Jalen Carter. And, and I was listening to a little bit of the previous show, and I know they got a head of security, and his name is Dom. Had a lot to do with the interviewing of the player. Don't kid yourself. The guy who probably made this happen is the greatest agent salesman in the history of agents, and that is Drew Rosenhaus. Drew Rosenhaus sells his players like no one else. And by the way, he'll lead you to water. Remember what happened with the Darius Slay stuff? What happened? Well, he had a come to Jesus conversation with Darius Slay. You're not going to get that money that the Eagles have on the table in the open market. You are not at 32. They went back, had a great conversation, and the Eagles loved the conversation, and the Eagles liked the negotiations, and the Eagles loved the way Drew Rosenhaus handles his clients. He had to sell Jalen Carter. And I'm going to say something to you here. I just got off the phone with Trey Scott, who's been the D-line coach at Georgia, and I know very well. He's been there since 2017. And I asked him, hey, is he a problem? He's like, no, he's no problem. Is he loud at times? Yes. Is he full of himself at times? Yes. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with this. He's like, nor did we. Did we have to pull him off the edge? What did Jimmy Johnson say about guys like me, Sapp, and all them other guys that he had to handle and had to deal with? You want to pull them dudes off the ledge. You want to pull great players off the ledge. You are not building championship football teams with choir boys. And don't kid yourself. Are you under the impression that Howie Roseman takes advice from the freaking NFL Network? And they didn't want to put that shit out there on Jalen Carter about the coaches not talking well? I go, Trey, they said you guys were talking shit on him. He's like, not true. Did we say he was at times hard to handle? He goes, Dan, weren't you? Yeah. Was it Jerome? Yeah. Jerome was a handful. Jerome's a great dude, though. And by all accounts, so is Jalen Carter. This shit aggravates me. It's why I hate 99.9% of the people that work in the fucking media. I hate that. Your opinion, who are you talking to? I talked to Trey Scott himself. I talked to the D-line coach himself. He ain't gonna bullshit me. I've known him 100 years. I've known that guy 100 years. Okay? I'm going to tell you a story about Jerome, and then you tell me if you would have had a problem drafting him. Jimmy Johnson kicked him off campus. He lost his housing because he had weapons in his room. He was thrown off campus for drag racing. He was a problem. Jimmy loved him. We loved him. Sometimes people live on that edge. Unfortunately for Jerome, it was an issue. And it was an issue in the end. I know the whole story. You don't have to freaking tell me, and I will not address any of your opinions on this because I don't care. I don't care what you think of Jerome Brown. I could care less if it's anything negative. Jerome was a handful. I thought it was so appropriate that Howie moved up to 9, where Jerome was drafted in 1987, and took Jalen Carter. You could make the argument, and we made it here. 2 best players in the draft are Jalen Carter and Bijan Robinson. And by the way, for the record, I totally believe the reason that Howie moved up to 9 is because he was not going to not get one of the elite guys in the draft. Will Anderson, Paris Johnson, Jalen Carter, and B.J. Robinson. If B.J. was there, I believe that would have been a tough choice for Howie to make. Because Howie was getting an elite player, and he did. And he did. This player here is this guy. For better or worse. Drew Rosenhaus had a lot to do with this and the selling. You guys remember a player by the name of Willis McGahee? Blew his knee out in a national championship game. Drew was such a good salesman. He got that kid drafted into the first round with a knee brace on. With a knee brace. That's how good a salesman Rosenhaus is. I like that name, Baby Jerome. That's what you got here. That's what you got here. The way Nick and Howie handled the media people because they didn't like Jalen's answer to the crash after he got drafted was a thing of beauty. They should have took a shit on that guy. They should have took a shit on that guy. I would have too. Just shows you again. Dude, you got 364 days to take a piss on Jalen Carter. But you chose his best day with his family and everybody watching and a great moment for the kid to take a shit on him. Okay? Hey, man, that's who you are. You're a shitty dude. Seals, he wears 88 so much in common with JB. Sombra totally reminds me. I've been telling you this now for 3 months. It reminds me of Jerome Brown, and I've never in a million years, ever compared anybody to him. Howie Roseman. Now, look, I'm not as thrilled at the 30th pick because I'm like with Baldinger. I don't think really Nolan Smith shows a lot of production. However, I'm okay with the pick because you know why? He has a lot of explosion. You guys remember that kid, Chris Johnson, who played, I forget, I think he went to Memphis. He was a running back in the day, ran a 4.1 or something. There's no premium on speed, especially on the perimeter. So I'm going to get to all the picks here in a second, okay? I promise you. But Jalen Carter was an absolute gift. And I'm going to tell you this right here. That's right. No better organization. Jimmy Johnson said that too, and so did Dave Wannstedt. Carter's in the right place, the Philadelphia Eagles. He's in the right place. There's not a doubt about that. Okay? Jalen Carter comes into a position where now, guess what? You ready? He is completely 100% an upgrade on Javon Hargrave. I'll take him over Javon Hargrave any day, any night, any week. He's a better ball player. He's not as experienced. He'll have to learn nuances of the NFL, but he's a better talent. Howie Roseman has improved the defensive front already, and the defensive tackle position is better than it was a year ago. It's not deeper, but it's better than it was a year ago. You should hear Chicago's radio show Those fans are hurt. I mean, what'd they get? They got to Tennessee tackle. They need that position. I know they wanted to get an explosion player, but that's okay. That's an address that's needed. By the way, the only reason that I'm addressing Jalen Carter is because there were only 13 players, as I said to you, in this draft. And there were only 5 impact wow guys. And Eagles got one of them. Dude, you got the guy too, not at the bottom end of that, but you got the guy that's at the top. You could have flipped a coin. Who's the best defensive player? Will Anderson or Jalen? I'm partial to D tackles, so I'm probably going there, but Anderson's a fine player. Houston showed you what they thought of him too. Jalen Carter is an explosive football player. I have to come to grips on something on production, and I'm going to get to that. Let me go over to the 30th pick with Nolan Smith. I'm with Baldy. I see the potential. I do. I'm not in love with the player, though. I'm like him. I'm not in love with him. Okay? He's missed quite a few ball games at Georgia. He's kind of productive. His junior year was, or his junior year was his best year. We're going to get to all these numbers here in a minute. But remember something. This is a Dan thing. Because more players rotate today. And there's more rotation today. So I have to adjust, not you. You're not wrong. He's a talented kid. I am not saying he's not. That is not where I'm going here. Okay? Not going here. Overall, first round, let's talk about the need. They got an interior D tackle that's a game-changing player. And they got one of the best players on the board. Boom. Addressed it. Edge rusher. Brandon Graham. Next year, probably gone. You start with now 2 bookends with tremendous speed. Guess what you look at with this defense? This defense is not a 34. You've got too much talent in your D tackle position. You got to play a 34 here. I mean, you got to play a 43. So what you're going to do is you're going to put one of those guys on a nose. I mean, where's Josh Sweat fit into this? You got to play a forefront. I think you got to play a 43. Okay, so you can get those rotations going in there with those tackles. I think you got to play a 43. Okay? You're still light at the linebacker position. You're better on the edge now. You're probably going to be able to set the perimeter and set the edge a lot better now that you have a player like Nolan Smith here. We'll see. And by the way, don't get crazy, but let's see how his college game, how he takes it to the NFL. Last year, Kobe Dean didn't do a very good job at translating from the college game to the pro game. Neither did Jordan Davis. Now, there were great players on that team. There were really good players. So before we start, these guys don't even have helmets yet. Okay? These guys don't even have helmets yet. Relax. Let's see how they transition into the college, from the college game to the pro game here. Do you think Desai will deploy some 5 fronts? I think he has to. Tone, I totally think he has to. I think Howie's really had a great offseason. Let me get to Jalen Carter here. And I like to look at production sheets. And I talked to his D-line coach, as I said before I came on the air. First year starting, 8 games, 14 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss, no sacks. 14 games. His second year, 17 solo, 20 assists, 37 tackles, 8.5 TFLs, pretty good. 3 sacks. This last year, 32 tackles, That's kind of where he hangs. 7 TFLs and sacks were 3. So he has 6 sacks in roughly 34 games. Kind of the same production Jordan Davis had. He's a better player, technically. His footwork is better. His hand placement's better. He's quicker. He gets in the backfield more and makes plays. Again, I remember something here. I'm not ripping him because I've got to come to the 2023s knowing that kids rotate. They rotate more, especially at big programs like Ohio State and programs like Georgia and Alabama. So there's more rotation than there was back in my day. And you're not going to see, you're rarely going to see a defensive tackle with 100 tackles and 10 sacks. Okay? Because Russell Merrill and Cortez Kennedy, who played behind me, they would have transferred because they wouldn't have got any playing time. So that's part of today is the transfer portal and why you see a lot more and why it's important for Alabama and Georgia to get a lot of quality guys like Wyatt, Walker, Nakobe Dean, Davis. That's why you see a lot of these guys and you don't see high production numbers. I get it. I'm with you here. By the way, this is an assessment. Now that he's an Eagle, this is an assessment of him. Because when you put the tape on, he's impact. All you need is 20 feet of him. Watch 20 feet of film. You know how good he is. Okay? He's a game-changing type defensive football player. Not an issue. I compared him to Jerome. I think he's got a lot of that. Now, I don't mind the off-the-field issues as long as you can control yourself and your emotions. And listen, he's got a great agent. If he listens to Drew Rosenhaus, Drew was Ray Lewis's agent, Ed Reed's agent, all them dudes. If he listens to Drew, remember what happened with Antonio Brown? Drew dropped him because he stopped listening to him. Drew was going to guide him out. Antonio Brown wanted nothing to do with it. Okay? Wanted nothing to do with it. So what did Rosenhaus do? You know what Drew said? I'm not ruining my relationship for Jalen Carter with the Eagles because this guy's an asshole. That's how Drew looks at you. Hey, I'm going to help you. Just like I would Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Jalen Carter, or Darius Slay. I'm going to help everyone. But you got to listen to me. I've been doing it for 40 years. I've known Drew Rosenhaus for 40 years. Don't think that relationship with Howie Roseman didn't play into Jalen Carter being drafted and those guys being very, very protective of Jalen Carter's reputation. You got a good taste of that with Howie Roseman and with Nick Sirianni and them guys on how protective they're going to be of Jalen Carter's character. Because when you question the character of Jalen Carter, you question the character of the Eagles. Philadelphia Super Bowl prediction on 4/28, yes or no? Not yet. Not yet. But I will say this. You know why they were so protective when that dude was asking questions and that dude was attacking Jalen Carter? Because he didn't feel contrite. Hey, bro, how do you know he's not contrite? How do you know what he didn't say to the family members? Those are people that he knew every day and saw. Where would a guy come up with that? That he just made that. He just made that up. He didn't get this. A guy in the Philadelphia media is like, I guess he thinks he's the soul searcher for all of you. That he didn't feel, and he's speaking for you, that he didn't feel that he was, well, contrite enough. Where does that guy get the balls to do that? Who are you at the end of the day, guy? What, because you've been covering a football team with a pen and a piece of paper? Does it give you the autonomy to attack a kid on one of the great days of his life and his family's life and all the things that some of those families had to fucking go through? Those scumbags make me sick. They make me sick. You had 300 days to kick his ass, but you chose that day. I was so angry, man. You know why? Jalen Carter reminds me of Jerome a lot in many ways. You're going to have to pull that guy off the edge. That's okay. That's okay. I'm all right with it. As long as he's a good dude, and by all accounts he is. And then when you ask the Georgia Bulldog coaches, Kirby, hey, is he a bad guy? Absolutely not. And I don't know where they got that from. And did you hear that they thought that they were so bold and powerful? The NFL Network. Did you see it, Tone, what they were doing? Well, we didn't want to show that we would dictate maybe where the kid fell or if he did fall in the draft because of bad information that what they did was lie to you. I talked to Trey Scott himself. I don't know where that came from. Trey Scott took over for Tracy. I mean, it was a bunch of what they were doing is lying to you so that they could make you feel that they have inside sources and that Jalen Carter's a bad kid. Now, you want to know what misinformation is? That Will Levis toe injury. Who cares? He fell in the draft. Now they're making excuses why he fell in the draft. Like I told you, Willis McGahee was drafted in the first round by the Bills in a knee brace. Come on, dog. That's just bullshit by the agent. Because now he doesn't want his client to look so bad because his client's now in the second round. It's okay, man. That's what your agent should do, man. He should try to make you feel better and make you look better. No problems there. The reality is both Georgia players made a bad decision that night. One lived, one didn't. Can't place blame on Carter for other kids' death. That's Tone there. Of course not. Of course not. If Tracy Rocker, remember what I said to you a couple weeks ago? If the Eagles pass on Jalen Carter, it was because Tracy Rocker didn't give an endorsement, or the Georgia coaches didn't. So wait a minute. The guy is in trouble with the authorities. A person dies. The coaches hate him, but the Eagles still draft him at 9? Really? Really? I don't believe that. That organization does too good a job at vetting things. And I mean things. Players, coaches, situations, everything. The media. That's why they got in that media guy's ass. Hey, Seals, did you see the high school kids on stage? They were bigger than most of the draft picks. The league has changed. Dual threat. GT, thank you, dude. Yeah, also was pretty interesting to see Rich Eisen start the NFL draft on accusing gun violence of killing those folks in Virginia instead of a maniac, like the maniac in Nashville. Okay, I thought political statements were not supposed to be done on NFL Network. And there were not supposed to be any kneeling or political messages, but there was Eisen throwing it out, gun violence instead of maniac violence. I mean, I was like, come on, dog. This is a draft. It's supposed to be a feel-good. It shows you right there, the media, again. Let me get to Nolan Smith. Again, I'm like Baldy. Here's Nolan Smith. 18 total tackles, 2.5 TFLs, 2.5 sacks. Sophomore year, 21 tackles, 7 games, 2.5 TFLs, 2.5 sacks. Junior year, 53 tackles, 8 TFLs, 4.5 sacks. So 2 of the last 3 years, he's not been able to play a full season. Okay. All right. All right. 18 tackles, 7 TFLs a year ago, 3 sacks. It's got to be because of production. Because when you watch the kid in a game and you watch all these Georgia kids, it just seems they're always around the ball. But there's just so many of them that, I was thinking about it. And when you're looking at these numbers, you're like, God, this is non-productive. But yet you look at the record and you look at the scheme that they're in, highly productive. And to me, they make more impact plays because they are fresher, because you have so much more in rotation. So to me, that's why when you look at the player, now look, I don't give a shit about the combines. I don't care what he ran. I don't care. I care he's a football player. The stuff that we watch on the combines, they'll never in a million years do one skilled thing or one drill like that for the rest of their professional careers. It is not reality of what the NFL is the combines. It's a joke. It's made for television. It has no implications or bearings on whether or not you're going to make it in the NFL or not. Has zero to do with it. Whether you run a fast 40 or you bench 700 pounds has no bearing on whether or not you're going to be an NFL guy. Zero. Can you play football? Do you make plays? Are you around the football? That's all that matters here. The combines, I don't care about the combines. Okay? I don't. I think Jalen Carter has a lot to prove to people because they're doubting him. By the way, one of the worst things you can have as a player is that they're waiting for you to F up now. He has to know this, and this is why he has a great agent. I know you guys talk about the leadership that's in the Eagle locker room, and it is important. I'm not dismissing that. But he's got an agent that's going to be in his face. Dude, everybody in Philadelphia, you got a taste of it at the press conference. You got a taste of it with some of your interviews. You've got a taste of it. You got a taste of what's to come. Philly is the best place on the planet for him, not only in the organization, but also preparing him how to answer questions. Dude, when you're down in Georgia and you're down in Hicksville and you've got the Georgia Bulldog media, that's a whole different animal compared to the Philly media and the NFL media. That's night and day also, because they're going to prep you for it. And the people in that PR department are sitting his ass down. You will never do an interview with Jalen Carter unless they know what some of the questions are. I promise you that. And that's a good thing. The Eagles are going to prepare him and prep him and teach him how to handle himself when it comes to answering questions. Just by the simple fact of one of the media people, I didn't feel you were sorry enough that you killed that guy. That's basically what he said. Pretty preposterous to come out of your skin like that to make a statement so that people can now put you in the story. That's what that guy did. He put himself in the stupid story. You now have a good clue. So to me, there's no question. Jalen Carter's got a lot to prove. Man, I'll tell you what, though. You got the best player in the draft. If you feel that way, I could too. The best player in the draft, I told you, it was Robinson, this guy. Remember what I told you about the sandbox yesterday? You guys right now got the best football player. Sometimes, friends, that comes with a little bit of baggage. Do you think this guy was a choir boy? You're trying to win a football game. Choir boys don't win football games. That's Notre Dame. Ain't no choir boys. I'm okay with this kid. I don't have one freaking problem with him. Big Sills, you make it a Super Bowl. No, not yet. I want to see what he does June or the rest of this draft as well. Personally, I think he had a fabulous night. Okay, I think Howie had a fabulous night. You got a tremendous prospect at 30. Wind him up, man. He could I'll tell you what. Can I say this to you? And I'll say it to you about him. He has a lot of the physical attributes. God, I don't know if I should say it. I don't know if I should say it. He has a lot of the physical attributes of Derek Thomas. He doesn't have the kind of production that I needed to see in college, but man, quick, handsy, gets on that corner, man. And you know what he does too? He'll put you in a wide 9, get you out there and rush you, get them tackles, feet moving. Once you get those tackles, feet moving and not planted, you own them. He's good out there in that. You watch him. Again, I want to see him against pro guys. I watched him against some of the SEC guys and some of the very guys who went in the NFL draft last night. He's got a lot of talent, and it's a good pick, especially at that 30 spot. You know what the Eagles didn't do too, which was great? They didn't overthink it. They didn't have to. I'm telling you, and I don't care what those guys say on radio in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles were thinking of taking Bijan. They move up to 9 because they were not going to let anybody get Jalen Carter because they knew there were only 5 dudes in the WoW sandbox. And they were going to get the last one who could be the best one. They knew it was a steal at 9. Shit, it may have been a steal at 8. Remember we talked about Bijan going to Atlanta yesterday? Right, Tone? We talked about Bijan going to Atlanta because the quarterback, Desmond Ridder, you're going like this. Hey, man, what a better way to put that in there than you get it on the other side of Pitts. Okay? Howie was so patient with the board. He's getting better, like you said. He didn't overcook it. He did a really great job letting the game come to him. I think he had a fabulous night. I think he's had get this. How about this? You know why I don't like to do this? I'm wrong about my offseason assessment of Howie Roseman. Between the contract, Kelsey back, the corners back, the draft so far in the first round, I mean, it's been great. The restructuring of Lane, I mean, it's just continuing. This guy's got a conveyor belt of like bowling pins that he's knocking down as he gets ready for July 27th. Okay? Hey, look, some of you, if you're pissed off that they didn't get Bijan Robinson, okay, you shouldn't be though, because this kid is evaluated better. And look at what you did this year compared to last year. You underdrafted this guy who is a better player than his draft position. Last year, you overdrafted a guy. And by the way, I think it's a testament to Jordan Davis to have to get his ass in shape and have to get his ass going. You know why? Many places have already put Jalen Carter in as a starter next to Fletcher Cox. What's that tell you? Many people were disappointed with Jordan Davis. Maybe this lights a fire under his ass. And I think that's what they're thinking as well. I think they got an upgrade on Javon Hargrave with this kid. This kid's a great ball player. I think this kid has every making of being one of your greatest defensive linemen. If what? If you keep him in the barn. The key is going to be keeping this kid in the barn. Constantly letting him know who he is, where he is. Do not lose that fact. The Philadelphia media is waiting for you to F up. They're not your friends. Don't kid yourself. The media is not your friend. Jalen Carter, you need to know that. They're not your friend. They're going to come up to you and befriend you. They're going to say shit to you. But it's going to be a point where they're going to have to talk shit on you. Don't let it get in your mind here that those people are your friends. They're not your friends. Don't ever let these guys get in. Once they do, they got you. That's advice. If you do what I do, and you pretend to be some sort of journalist, and yet you turn around on the radio and talk shit on them, you're not a journalist. You're an opinionist. You're an op-ed guy. You're not a reporter or a journalist. You're an op-ed guy. You write in the opinion section. Dalvin Cook, I missed that one. Please repost it. I'll read it. Do you think Howie drafts a running back tonight or patiently trades a veteran, maybe inexpensive Swift from Detroit? John, I think they're going to go with where they are. Okay, I do. I think Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry is next. Whew. Okay, if that happens, I quit. Like Howard Eskin, if that happens, I quit. Okay? I really love the attention that they're giving positions of need on Philly. One of the priorities was getting the corners back. They wanted CJ back. They got the 2 corners. To me, that's more of a priority. Okay? They're addressing the D tackle position. They spent $10 million on Fletcher, a 13th pick last year, and they went right around in the draft and drafted another DT in back-to-back drafts. Not afraid. And they got the best player in the draft. I told you for months now. He's Jerome Brown. Okay? My 2 guys were him and BJ. Bijan Robinson and him are the best players in the draft. There's no coincidence that a running back went 8. I told you. He's the 5th. He's probably the 3rd best player in the draft. Atlanta got him at 8. That's a steal. That's a steal. Okay? They've really done a great job. Really. I mean it. I want to wait and see the player, obviously. Remember what I told you. See, everybody's talking about the name. I want to see the guy play first and how he fits into a system and into a scheme. Because let me tell you the first thing that you know when you're listening to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. How do you even know what defense they're going to run yet? The Eagles haven't made it public yet on what defense they're going to run. How do you know he fits in? How do you know his skill set fits into a 34-43, a bear front? How do you know that? You don't know that yet. You have no idea how that – get this. To some of you guys who are Nakobe Dean fans, Nakobe Dean may fit better in this new system that Sean Desai, and he may look like an all-pro. This guy may look like an all-pro. You don't know. And then again, you put a guy in a system and you go like this. Shit, that guy just doesn't fit. We don't even know yet what the Eagles are preparing and what look they're going to look at. 34-43, we have no idea. I'll tell you what, though, that Jalen Carter, he fits everywhere. He fits everywhere. I am so impressed they got that kid. And I'm going to say it one more time to you. The relationship with Drew Rosenhaus and how Rosenhaus handled himself with the Darius Slay negotiations probably really impressed the Eagles. Rosenhaus has an amazing bedside manner. It's an amazing bedside manner. He's going to look out for – he probably told them that. Don't kid yourself. There's probably great conversations. Great conversations. The fans are just as excited. Don't beat them up that much. Hey, listen, guys. I'm telling you, one thing's for sure. I'm telling Jalen Carter these things because I think he has the ability for greatness. This is a pick of greatness. This is a pick that could, guess what? Be one of Roseman's greatest picks on that side of the ball. You know, I'm going to give you a comment here, and I'm going to tell you a little philosophy on how I was coached. Damn, coach, why are you always on my ass? Why are you kicking me and Jerome's ass all the time? Hey, you two better worry when I'm not in your ass and I'm not saying shit to you. Because when I'm not saying shit to you, that's when I'm done with you. Don't ever forget that, Sileo. Whoa. What an epiphany that was. What an epiphany that was. Worry when I'm not in your ass. Because when I'm not in your ass, I don't care. Weapon says, Jerome heard you speaking, so he blessed us. Man, I felt the same thing last night, man. I just felt the presence of Jerome last night. When I heard Jalen Carter's name, I felt the presence of Jerome. And I said, JB, maybe this kid will finish unfinished business for you. I mean, he wears 88. I mean, I think he could give you the unfinished business you had in Philly. I don't think Jerome Brown would have ever left Philly. As a matter of fact, I know he wouldn't have. And you got a guy here that embodies all of that. Is he edgy? Yes. Was Jerome? Yes. Is he quick-footed? Yes. He's got great feet? Yes. All of them. Everything. They're the same size. 6'3", 314. Same size. Same footwork. Same questionable question marks. And I'll tell you this, when everyone was talking shit on Jerome, they were talking shit on Jerome. There was just no social media. There were no television shows. Or Jerome would have got killed too. He would have got killed too. They would have been all over him like they were all over Jalen Carter. And yet there he was last night. I was so happy for the kid. Represented by Drew Rosenhaus. That was Jerome's agent. Do you know that? There's so many similarities here. You did know that. You did know that Drew Rosenhaus represented Jerome. This is a move here. That's a great, it's probably the best draft pick that they have had on that side of the ball since Fletcher. Since Fletcher. We're going to look at the draft here and some of the absolute surprises in it. How it affects the Eagles. What type of scheme's best? Where's your strength now on your defense? Do I think the defense now? Sills, what do you think of the defense now that you took a crap on it a couple months ago and said this defense cannot win games? What do you think of it now? Pretty impressive. You're getting closer to San Francisco. Okay. A Devin White in there. Maybe a Brian Branch on the second day. You may have a better unit than a year ago. I'm not saying you're going to get more sacks because you're going to be playing against better quarterbacks. You're not playing against that shitbox of quarterbacks you played against last year. You're playing against some quality people. But I think you may have more athleticism. How about this? I'm going to make a point to you. I think you probably have more athleticism on your defense, especially in your front seven, than you did a year ago. Jordan Davis is an athlete. He's just got to play up to his ability. Jalen Carter is an upgrade from Javon Hargrave. He's an upgrade. Jerome was taken 9th overall as well. Weapon, when they moved up to 9th, there was just too much working. Rosenhaus, the 9th pick. A kid from, I think he's from Apaka, is he not? I think he's a Florida kid. I think he's a right around. Do you know he's right around from the neck of the woods of Jerome Brown? I think he's an Apaka kid. That's where Sapp's from. I think he's like up there, like around the Orlando / towards Brooksville, where Jerome Brown's from. You got a special ball player. How he's kicking the living shit out of every general manager in the NFL. Dude, he's playing chess and they're playing checkers right now. I can't believe how much he's killing it. He is absolutely killing it. Kudos, man. Kudos. You know, I'm one of these guys, when I see someone doing a great job, you've got to give them their justice. The whole organization, the owner, the GM, the scouts, how they're drafting lately, too, with 7 of 22 players on the starting 22. 17 of them have been drafted in the last couple of years. Kudos, man. You know, I'm going to say it one more time to you. Since he came out of the broom closet, Howie Roseman is a 10-time better general manager. I did not think he was this good. This is the best offseason he has had since he's been in that building since 2000. This is best offseason, dude. This is best offseason. You know me, man. I don't sit around here waving pom-poms at people. That's not what I do. I'm a truth teller. I see what it is. Last night, he was a freak show. Moved up to 9. You know why? He was not going to be denied one of the wild players from the sandbox. The sandbox was Paris Johnson, Will Anderson, Bijan Robinson, Jalen Carter, and if you had to throw Bryce Young in there, those were your 5 wild dudes. The rest of the guys, down to 13, as I said, and now everyone's saying, there were 13 really good ball players in this draft. After 13, then you get to really good ball players down to around 53. And after that, I'd rather go and do what Howie does best. You know what that is? Scour rosters everywhere where I could find guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, or go out and wait for June 1 when guys like Kaiser White or just jettisoned. And he brings those guys in. Howie's got more room. Howie's got another window of free agency coming up on June 1. You know that, right? Because salary cap implications are going to hit some teams because they can't manage their cap, because they overpay their quarterback, and they're going to start jettisoning guys. You're going to start seeing dudes that you wouldn't believe and are young. And Howie's going to go scoop them up, give him a 1-year Howie deal. Howie's got a new deal here. I'm going to start calling this dude the fixer. He's the fixer. I'm going to give you a 1-year deal. Come in here. Get this. You get paid here. You get paid somewhere. But you get paid if you play in Philly. That is a mantra now for free agents. By the way, too, I want to show you something else that your organization is now doing for you. Every time you draft a guy like Jalen Carter, who maybe has some dents in the fender, and maybe guys that are out there who have some dents in the fender, every free agent, potential free agent, wants to play in Philly now. I used to blame Howie for my chronic swamp ass because of his drafting. Now I'm so excited to see what he does next. His feel of what teams are going to do is fantastic. Skid, there's no doubt. You know, sometimes, Skid, when things are taken from you, you have an opportunity to watch him more. And I think as Chip Kelly decided to destroy the organization and decided to destroy the framework of the clubhouse and also the locker room, I think all the things that he started seeing in there, I think it panned out and played out for him, and why he's a better general manager today. And then I would say the most important thing is the fact that I think he's patient. I call him the 1-year pimp sales. Marshall, guy gives you a pimp contract. How he gives you a pimp contract? Hey, man, I tell you what, you come in here, you play well, you're going to get paid here or you're going to get paid over there. You pick it. Where you want to get paid. You're going to get paid, though. And more importantly, you're going to win. All this shit's good. And by the way, I wouldn't be crowing this much here on April 28th if you haven't come off an NFC championship. And the fact that you now have a different quarterback and a different head coach, and you're just a few years removed from 2017, you continually are doing this with different people. What's the one common denominator that's not leaving the building? It's the GM. The GM is the one factor. By the way, there's not a thought in my brain that makes me think Nick Sirianni had anything to do with taking Jalen Carter. Nothing to do with it. That's an organizational decision. To me, that comes down from the owner. Are you cool with this guy being in our building, knowing we're going to have to face some jackass like we faced yesterday? Are you cool, Jeffrey? Yeah. That's the owner. JP goes, you said don't overdraft. Howie listened. He didn't overdraft. Falcons picked Bijan, made our decision easier. Go Philadelphia Bird Dogs. Absolutely. There's not one player they overdrafted yesterday. I'm not a superstar fan of Nolan Smith like Brian Baldinger isn't, but I'm okay with the pick. I see it. I see it. And get this. His athleticism warrants he's a first rounder. Absolutely. Nobody's saying he's not. He's just not a top 10 guy. That's not a top 10 football player, but he may be. And he may live up and live into it. Again, remember something. This is a Dan thing. For me, it's more about I have to come to grips with people nowadays in college football doing a lot of rotating. And so when I don't see a ton of production, that makes me question it. But it's a me thing. It's not you. The player's good. The player's good. That's a good comparison, S. Blunt, because Von Miller at Texas A&M, I went like this. I don't know. I didn't see that. Or how about the guy Myles Garrett? Myles Garrett and Von Miller, I went like this. Okay, well, I didn't see that in college. I didn't see that in college. What they ended up becoming in the NFL. I didn't. And could it be like that? It could be like that. He's got athleticism like those two dudes. Von's got a pretty good hip, though, man. He gets down and he gets around that hula hoop. He's pretty good at it. He's pretty good at it. He's a weapon like Reddick. Well, again, Yale, here's the one thing we got to wait and see. We got to wait and see what defensive scheme they're going to put him in. We don't even know that right now. Nobody has an idea what the scheme is going to be. And we're sitting around here going, oh, my God, this guy's going to beat it. Let's see him get a helmet first, and let's see him. Remember what I said to you yesterday? When people start talking about names on the back of the jersey, now I talk about those 5 wow guys in the sandbox, and you got one of them. How can hey, here's the golden nugget. How in the hell does the NFC champions get one of the 5 wow guys? And by the way, if Jalen Carter came out last year, he'd be the number 1 pick last year. You think Walker's going to go ahead of Carter? Walker's not better than Carter. He's not better. I think they see Hassan Reddick in him. Weapon. Bigger, too. Bigger, too. Okay, he's a bigger dude. Again, the 40-yard dash, okay, that's great, but can you apply it to the field? Jerry Rice ran a 4.8 at the combines. Did any of you ever see Jerry Rice get caught from behind in an NFL football game? Did you ever see Jerry Rice where speed was an issue? Honest to God, Jerry Rice ran a 4.8 at his combines. A 4.8. Do you think that mattered in that legendary career? So, I mean, let's see how they put him in play. I'll tell you something else, too, about how you handle a guy like Jalen Carter. You see, what I'm going to give you, instead of just sitting down here talking about the player, what he did at Georgia, that's old news now. We got to talk about what he has looking ahead of him and where he is. Let me tell you what I would do. If that's me in a building, which, remember something, Tracy, look at what you have at that D tackle position. You got a former Outland and Lombardi winner, one of the best defensive linemen in college football history is Tracy Rocker. You understand that. Rocker is one of the very few people that ever won the Outland and Lombardi in the same year. Hey, Sills, have you ever evaluated a player where his combine production translated to his on-field production? Deion Sanders. Chris Johnson. Dominic Sue. Aaron Donald. Now, his measurables were short because of him being short. Okay, his measurables. But here is what Jalen Carter has facing him. Okay, scrutiny, living up to the 9th pick, a lineage of great defensive tackles in that place. You feel it, you know it. You know where you're playing when you play defense in Philadelphia. You should know it. And by the way, that guy, Jonathan Gannon, I have been right about that guy since day one. He's immature. He doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. He was negotiating with his agent, with Arizona, with a scumbag Arizona organization who's under scrutiny right now at Park Avenue while he was preparing for the freaking Super Bowl. Imagine that. Jonathan Gannon. And some would say, well, he was probably totally focused on the Super Bowl. There's not a chance when you know in the back of your mind, win or lose, you're getting a raise and going to become the head football coach of the Arizona Cardinals. You know why I know now what Frank's – get this, guys. Go back to the Frank Wright interview that we had on this show. What was it, Tone? 2 months ago. Frank said he got the call to become the offensive coordinator of the Eagles. He knew that he was going to be in the building. It wouldn't surprise me if Shane Steichen also was talking to Jim Irsay. And both those guys were working on jobs, both of them at the same time. There's no question. That's the price of success. You get your coaching staff rated. This guy's running his mouth about Philly and the fans. And he's cutting side deals with other organizations while he's under contract with the Philadelphia Eagles, allegedly. Allegedly to the point where the league fined both teams. I don't know why the Eagles got fined. Holy cow, dog. Show some professionalism. Be a professional. You start something, finish it. Jesus Christ. You and me and all you guys, we get in each other's asses all the time. But at the end of the day, show some freaking professionalism. 5573, still so happy I stumbled upon your show back in week 4 of the season. I truly think the front office listens in this, man. It's made a difference. Keep it up. Thank you, brother. I think it does too. I hear them saying some of the same shit I do. I heard Colin Cowherd go like this morning. Well, there's probably 13 guys in the draft. I'm like, okay. He probably landed on that number because he knows Joy watches it too. How you doing, Joy? Come on, man. That really ticked me off about Jalen Carter yesterday, though, dog. Dude, picking on the kid. Let the kid breathe a little bit. Okay? I think Eagles got fined because Gannon was an Eagle at the time, but I agree. Eagles shouldn't have been penalized. If there's a fine to pay, where it is, they settled. Okay? Still, I'm talking about the Hey, Tone, I get all that. I'm talking about the professionalism, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about professionalism. Damn. You had guys that were looking to, before even the Super Bowl was played, bailing on you. How uncool is that? By the way, Philly 500, we're going to get our boy on at 4:30. I want to get his take on this thing here. I know he's probably upset that we didn't get Bijan. Again, no. You landed on one of the guys in the sandbox. We're going to take a look at the draft. And we'll look at the draft here because it had to have been one of the most intriguing drafts that I've ever seen. Also, some day two dudes that I could see the Eagles go after. Pretty amazing what's on your football team right now. Pretty amazing. And by the way, wait till I give you the odds for rookie and offensive, defensive rookie of the year candidates. Wait till you hear the names that people are saying here. Okay? Hit the like button. Hour 2. Keep it here on the National Football Show.